Welcome to Barnyard Language, honest talk about running farms and raising families. We are Katie and Arlene, an Iowa sheep farmer and an Ontario dairy farmer, with 6 kids, 2 husbands, and a whole lot of chaos between us.
While this is a podcast for farm families, sometimes our content isn't for the whole family. So kick off your boots, reheat your coffee, and join us for some Barnyard Language.
Hello, listeners. It is Katie and Arlene again, and you're here at Barnyard Language, which you probably knew if you hit play on the podcast. But anyway, thank you. We appreciate you joining us. And it's our usual update time. So I'm going to ask Katie what's happening in Iowa. What's the news? What's happening on the farm?
Guys did first crop hay this weekend.
That's exciting.
Sheep are being sheepy.
Now, are you a round bale family, big square bale family, small square bale family? What's happening in the hay world?
We're a small to mid-size round bale family. We are sometimes a small squares family because we really enjoy hating our lives and being itchy.
And you have a old barn with a mow that needs stuff in it.
We do have an old barn with a mow. Some days we get real fancy and we chop straw and then blow it into the hay mow, which personally I love, but it's dusty and kind of gross. I had somebody come and wrap bales for us yesterday, which was nice. And the reason we do smaller round bales is that we're using a skid steer to move them. So if they get too big, they don't move.
Yeah, that's not very convenient.
Just, a problem. So got them wrapped, and that was nice. The boy child was quite upset about why we don't just own a wrapper, and I had to point out that we could pay for a lot of bales to be wrapped before it would make sense to buy a wrapper.
Right. Don't tell him that I have a wrapper until you are bringing him to come visit me. But then we'd have to time your visit when the wrapper is running. That is one of the pieces of equipment that we do own. We do have a lot of custom workers, but the wrapper is essential for us for the number of bales that we do. So maybe I could get some videos and send them to him.
Oh, he didn't even want to go see the wrapper. He just wanted to know why we had to pay somebody for one. And you guys, I imagine, feed a lot more bales than we do.
That is true.
Since you both have a lot more cows and they are inside being fed. So, there's that.
That is true.
Our last cows have calved for the summer. We just bought 2 more cows out of the neighbor's herd as he was dispersing. Other than that, not a whole heck of a lot.
Now, in your part of the world, I believe school is done. Is that true for children?
School is done. They were finished last week, I guess. It's a real what is time anyway kind of a week, Arlene. So.
And they still go to the same daycare, so life doesn't change a whole lot at this point, other than what they do during the day.
They are rapidly aging out of daycare, so I don't know what we're going to do next year, but that's a next year problem, very much so.
That's a next year problem.
Yeah, this summer is very much in flux. I think I mentioned that I was in Pennsylvania recently visiting my dad and his side of the family. He's having some health stuff going on, and as an only child, my need to go back and forth is perhaps greater than it would be if I had siblings to share it with. And it's a little up in the air how soon I might need to go back or for how long or whatever else. So I'm trying not to plan anything too far in advance. Plus kids, plus farm, plus the world, plus...
Yeah, plus recent unemployment and job searching and...
Yeah. Nothing going on here.
No big deal.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So trying to write a resume, I think I've mentioned I did not have to write a resume when I got my most recent job, and having to boil down 5 years of work into a 1-page resume without violating any non-disclosures, and also clarifying what I was doing, and also whatever. Harder than I expected.
Can't you just get AI to do that?
Well, I'm sure I could, but I don't know that that's.
That might be against your non-disclosure agreement.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, how are things at your place, Arlene?
Things are going okay. It has been continually wet on and off, but we did get a couple of dry days and some hay got done, so that was satisfying. It got wrapped and put away before the next round of rain came. I went away for the weekend. We did kind of a divide and conquer situation because it's early June and it's hard to predict what's going to happen with crops and all those types of things. So my husband and daughter ended up staying home, and I went away with the 3 boys to my sister's place. My niece was being confirmed on the weekend, so we did a road trip there, and we traveled with my other sister and her 2 boys. So the 7-passenger van was filled with teens and tween boys, and my sister and I in the front, and then we all went to my other sister's place. So there were a lot of teenagers in one place, but it was really fun. We were grateful that one of her friends loaned us a camper for the weekend, so there were actually places for everyone to throw down and sleep while we were there. And it was cold and windy and gross at her place, so it was kind of tricky to figure out what to do with all of those giant people in one house. But thankfully, the local community was having their community garage sale day, so that actually filled quite a few hours, just roaming around the streets and looking for treasures. And we couldn't buy anything too big because, of course, we had a lot of people in my vehicle to go home, but, bought some random stuff that we probably didn't need but didn't cost much. And then if you're there near the end of the day, you can pick up free stuff too. So we snuck a few interesting lawn ornaments into my sister's garden that she may discover over the next few days. Now that we're gone, we'll see if she notices them all. And yeah, that was kind of the main stuff in the last week. Some spraying is getting done today. The custom spraying guys are starting to attack some of the weeds that are threatening to overpower some of those wet fields. But now that the planting's done, hopefully we get the plants ahead of the weeds, give them a good head start and see what grows for this year. And we still have 3 solid weeks of school left, so I don't have to think about summer vacation yet because all of my people are home for the summer. So that is a whole different vibe in the house than the way it is now. Although it's not as intense as it used to be, for sure. When the youngest is 10 and the others are teens, they're at least helpful and sometimes sleepy. So, I'm up, several hours before them anyway, but sometimes I can even catch a nap before we have to accomplish anything too productive for the rest of the day.
That is nice.
It is, yeah. And so Katie and I are working on getting episodes recorded over the next few weeks to try and finish out the rest of this season, which feels wild. And then we'll take August off as we usually have. So we've got, feels like a few episodes left to go, but before we know it, we're going to be done another season. Craziness. We're still doing the thing.
It really is. Arlene, I forgot to mention that we got our hayfields sprayed in preparation for no-tilling corn into them. So the corn is coming up, but it still basically just looks like we have lots of fields of dead hay. And I had forgotten how gross it looks. Like, I don't give a shit what my lawn looks like, which is good because it looks like a mess. But something about seeing fields of dead hay is just really depressing.
Give it another week. It'll be all good.
Yeah. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, and then it's supposed to be quite warm, so I'm sure it'll be knee-high by next week or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. It's all going to shoot up.
Today it's a little sad.
That's right. All right. Well, why don't we introduce? We have 2 guests this week, which we are excited to talk to. And then we have a show for our Canadian friends to watch. And hopefully soon our American friends can see it too. Anyway, you can listen to our guests tell us all about it.
All right. Sounds good.
Today, we are excited to be talking to Lindsey Middleton and Katie Uhlmann, who are joining us from Ontario. And we always start each of our interviews with the same question, which is your intro to our listeners. So we always ask, what are you growing? So our farmer guests usually tell us about crops and livestock and all that kind of stuff and kids. And but I don't think that you guys are farmers, but I would still like to ask the same question. What are you growing?
Yeah.
You go first?
Okay. Hi, my name is Lindsey Middleton. I'm an actor, I'm a producer, a writer. And what I'm growing currently is I'm one half of Cows Come Home, which is a new show coming up to Bell 5 TV1. And my co-creator here is...
Hi, I'm Katie Uhlmann, and I am a director and then the co-writer, co-producer of Cows Come Home, working with Lindsey. So we are growing this show that's really about friendship and those people who are there for you through the thick and the thin. But it is set in the world of competitive cow showing, and we shot on a working dairy farm and a horse farm, and we are very excited.
We're excited to be here.
So this is a show that obviously I haven't seen yet because it hasn't been released. But when I saw the trailer, it was like, okay, I need to message these people right now because it has cows in it, and there aren't many shows that kind of focus on agriculture. I mean, it's an extra character in some shows, but it seems like it's a main character in yours. So I'm going to guess that you have a background that's related to agriculture somehow. So can you guys tell us about how you ended up both as actors and directors, and also making a show that speaks to those of us who are farming?
So Katie and I both grew up in small towns. She's from Trenton, Ontario. I'm from Ridgeway, Ontario, which is in the Niagara region. And I grew up doing 4-H dairy. So I had 5 dairy calf projects. Candy, Lonnie, Janelle, Vivian, and Carolina. Love them forever. Love the names. And I did that from 10 to 15. We also both grew up riding horses. My mom worked on a horse farm. My grandma's best friend owned the dairy farm I borrowed calves from, which we actually ended up filming on both of those locations for the show. So it was very much a homecoming and just a really authentic experience. That's kind of our background in agro. We can identify a lot of weeds. That's part of the show.
Yep.
Yep.
We're good on weeds. We know the difference between hay and straw. I also when I was a teenager, I worked at a vineyard pruning vines. That was hard. That was working the fields, waking up at 4 a.m. and that was another piece of it. But I know. I never told you that.
We spent a lot of time together, so it's kind of amazing when we
I don't know. Yeah.
You can answer each other's questions probably for the most part.
I know, Katie, I was actually just in the Niagara region yesterday. I flew out of Buffalo, New York, and driving past those vineyards and thinking about what dealing with that must be like, because where I live, we do a lot of cropping, but it's all tractor based, where vineyards seem to be pretty human powered in a lot of ways that, corn and soybeans are not. And it seems like a very different sort of job. I mean, there's a few jobs we do with corn and beans, or with corn at least, that are somewhat more human centric, but not many. And that looks like hard work.
Yeah, it's hard work. And we're going back a few years when I was in high school. But yeah, waking up really early. We would be done by noon because the sun was just too hot, but really working in the fields, pruning the vines and twisting them back on. It's hard work. I've never been so hungry in my life.
So just thinking about, I guess the only other ag show that jumps to mind, especially with multiple female leads, is McLeod's Daughters. So how's the drama level on your show compared? I don't know if you've seen McLeod's Daughters, but it's very dramatic.
So I would say that our show is a blend of drama and comedy, and there are a lot of really fun, uplifting moments. But the lead character that Lindsey does an incredible job of portraying is coming out of a really hard time. Off the top, her engagement is broken off, and then she moves home, and through the help of her best friend, they put the pieces of her life back together, and it's really about rediscovering who you are through these things that you did as a kid. And so there's both. It's a blend of comedy and sadness as you're kind of stumbling through, as life is, it's like sometimes in those hard moments, the funniest thing happens. So just trying to blend those two ideas.
So how is 4-H and cow showing kind of incorporated into that? Because the trailer does kind of hint at one of the ways that she's putting the pieces back together. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I figure if it's in the trailer, then it's fair game.
Yes, I would say a big element is that Tabby, the protagonist of the show, thinks a way she's going to put her life back together is going back into the ring and doing competitive cow showing because she sees a calf with perfect conformation, which is, perfect bone structure. So she does just that. One fun hitch is she's too old to compete. So that's where a bit of hijinks comes in. And her best friend is pulled along for the ride, whether she likes it or not. And yeah, we get to really dive back into all the beautiful elements of 4-H, such as a judging competition, the regional fair, showmanship, conformation.
The training.
Yeah, training your calf is like really heavily like touched upon in episode 3, which is really fun and exciting.
And one of the things that I love about the show is the way she gets the cow is in exchange for doing chores on the farm. And we have a beautiful sequence that really honors the routine of the farmer with working with the animals and the milking of the cows and what that looks like. And, some people have said a few people have said it's a little long, but I totally disagree. It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's like, and we really wanted to represent what that was.
And we actually went and did a day of work on the dairy farm we filmed on, because there was certain like writing pieces that we needed to connect the dots on. And it's pretty amazing that all those things are now in the show, all those things we learned. And when we worked that morning from 3:30 a.m. till 7:30 a.m., we got such a clear slice of what it is and what goes into it. And we just really wanted to depict that for everyone so people know, hey, this is where your food is coming from. Yeah, this is like the effort it takes. Because you probably just see it at the grocery store and then on your table. So, yeah.
So how do you deal with continuity issues, especially with dairy cattle? Obviously, if you're showing them being milked, and I don't know, I guess since you're talking about showing, how much milking and udders and that is coming into it, but the udder of a dairy cow changes a lot from hour to hour in a day, just even in a day, let alone across a longer shooting period. So I'm wondering how you deal with continuity things like that, because there's a lot of challenges there that aren't there in a lot of other entertainment.
Continuity with the calves.
Continuity with the calves. So yeah, it's a little bit tricky shooting with animals in general, and you make a great point as to the fluctuations of the udder specifically. But we tried to shoot in ways. I'm trying to think like if I can give a good example. We did a montage. So we went, when one of the mornings while chores were happening, we went with a skeleton crew and shot just as everything was taking place. And that was one of our deals with the farmer before shooting, farmer Austin Miller, the late farmer Austin Miller. He said to us, you can shoot here, but you cannot interfere with the animals milking or feeding. And he was very clear about that. Yeah. And so we honored that. So we had to shoot that beautiful sequence during the actual taking place of the milking and feeding. And then we were just really cognizant when we were shooting with the animals, especially our lead calf, to not be shooting with her too long, because the attention span was only so long, and you can tell when an animal's over it. And so we were really scheduling around the cow's well-being. I could say, like, for the most part, our first assistant director who does all the scheduling was like, I can't believe we're like scheduling around milking and like a milk truck. And like, we were like, that's the deal. Yeah. So we're doing it.
Are you a farmer or butcher ready to master direct-to-consumer marketing and meet success?
The team at ChopLocal is standing by, ready to help. Sell your meat on the ChopLocal Marketplace. Check out all the free meat marketing educational resources at ChopLocal University. Hire the team to help you out, or tune into their new podcast called Meat Success.
And remember, there's more than one recipe for meat success. Let us help you fine-tune yours today at ChopLocalUniversity.com.
So, how did you cast it sounds like most of the cows were just cows. But how do you deal with casting like your lead calf? I'm just picturing like a lineup, in like all the Hollywood films of like just a room full of little calves just like sitting on couches and looking through their scripts where they're like, trying to get into character as calves, I guess.
It was exactly that. So our calves were born in January. So they were sweet little babies in April. And Farmer Austin, I was home for Easter actually, and he gave me a call and he said, I think you need to come pick your calf now, because if we wait till June, I might only have bulls. So I called Katie because we'd wanted to do it together, but it just happened that, sometimes you just got to go. So I literally went down there and there was 5 to choose from. And I just was kind of playing with them
and sending me photos. You were like, do you think I like?
And really, I was just, because I had worked with calves for years, so I was like, okay, who is the friendliest? Like, who is the most comfortable with being handled right now? Because they do all have their own individual personalities, and it kind of came down to that. And then just luckily, there was 2 of them that looked very similar, because we knew having kind of a backup calf was not a bad idea, like the Olsen twins in Full House, because sometimes they need a break, and we did actually end up doing that in the show. Mm-hmm. So hilariously, once training started, we had my old 4-H leader, Ariane, Farmer Austin's granddaughter, training the calves for us while we were doing pre-production up in Toronto. And then when we would come down, we would take them for a walk. And it seemed that the one that was picked wasn't as good on lead as the double. So the double actually came in and scooped that role away.
She stole it.
The understudy takes it.
Yeah,
yes.
The understudy. That was pretty funny.
She took direction better, and she was just a bit more calm. Mm-hmm. And because she was going to be handled by other folks, ultimately I was like, it has to be this one.
Mm-hmm. The other did a weird head thing too.
Yeah.
I really want to see the like behind the scenes inside the actors studio situation with these calves and being like, how do you get into the method acting of being a calf? Like, my brain works funny, I'm sorry, but I am just dying at this idea of like, if you could actually interview these calves about the one being too much of a diva and getting her role scooped away by the upstart.
So other than scheduling kind of around what you felt the animals needed and what was happening on the farm, what are some of the other challenges with working with animals on set? I'm assuming that they're a bit more finicky than most actors. Well, I guess it depends on the actor.
Well, I'll say one of the challenges was, especially with the regional fair sequence, those scenes, we had, when you're shooting, you have schedules for the actors, the human actors, for their hair and makeup. We call it processing. And then as part of our daily schedule, we had the cows processing because they had to get a bath and get groomed.
Yeah, their top lines need done. You can't be going to a show and not looking good.
All that. So it was like, okay, where are the cows? Like, everyone's on walkies and like, what's the ETA on the cows processing? So that was kind of funny. They were treated on. And we have what we call a call sheet, which is basically all the times and all the cast numbers. It's all organized, and all the cows had their own official number on the call sheet and call times and all that. And then I would say, well, one of our lead actresses, Clarice Wood, who did an incredible job, but she had to show a cow and hadn't had any experience. So we did some training sessions with her on the calf, and I guess we were just concerned that everyone felt safe and confident. But a lot of the kids in the show are real 4-H champions, and that are more of the background cow showers, so that felt very safe. Lindsey, you knew some of the kids.
Yeah. We reached out to the local 4-H chapter in Niagara, and we got the kids involved in the shoot, which was amazing. And also for us as producers, it was a great logistical move of, we knew we had these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 kids that we could give calves to. And we, like, I was like, I don't even have to think about this. If I know they're holding the calf, I do not have to worry. If I tell them to show it like a show, they'll just do exactly the choreo. They don't need a rehearsal. So it was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And then just to have them involved and have them see kind of the film side world of things, I think it was pretty exciting for them and really rewarding, because mentorship, is part of the 4-H experience. It's something I grew up with. So then to be able to give that to this next generation in a totally different lens, it just felt really special and unique to a film set in particular.
That is a really neat experience for them. So on your show day, how many animals in total did you have in the ring?
So we did a pared down version. We had 5 calves in the ring, like just logistically timing.
That still seems like a lot of animals to try and get coordinated in front of the camera.
We had the 5 animals, and then a lot of like actors and BG in the stands.
Yeah.
We had Elvis Stoico, who's a world figure skating champion, as one of the judges that day, and a bunch of talented folks.
I was wondering how Elvis Stoico got incorporated in there. I saw that he was included, and I didn't. Does he have an actual cow connection, or he was just the star power?
He's an animal lover. He has a dog food rescue program that he runs with his wife. So they're huge animal lovers. So when we approached him about it, he, I think, was really excited about the animal component of it. So him and Dale Boyer play announcers at the competition, and it's kind of a play on that dodgeball commentator sports movie thing. So it's quite fun.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, we took a few liberties.
Yeah.
A little bit like Best in Show or...
So then your 4-H kids, was it like a BYOC, or did you cast calves for them as well?
We cast calves for them. We trained all 5 calves in our free time for the shoot. That was a bit chaotic during pre-production. I basically do meetings all day, and then I go back to the farm and I take all 5 calves for a walk with my 4-H leader. And interestingly enough, when we shot the show scene, one of them was in heat, which
happens at a show too.
Of course, but it also changed their casting of who was going to get which calf, because then it was, okay, who is, quite frankly, the strongest 4-H show person? Okay, sorry, you get the calf in heat. Camera, maybe you don't spend that much time on that one.
Yeah, we had 3 cameras going because, they were trained, but they're unpredictable a little bit. So it was chaotic, and we had a lot to kind of cover in the day. So we had, different angles at all times. It was a bit of an editing fiasco getting back into the edit suite, and my editor's like, what is this?
There are animals everywhere.
Yeah. But it turned out, honestly, the sequence is gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I think it honors the real 4-H dairy competitions.
Yes, Katie is an amazing student, and when we were writing this, she said, I really need to go to a competition, because as the director, I need to understand, like, correctly the choreo, the vibe, the sound, all of it. So it was really cool kind of showing someone that world, and then going into the editing room and kind of seeing it all come together. And yeah, we're really happy with it.
It's special.
So I have to say, when are you guys going to do the Hallmark movie spinoff that is like the big time Hollywood producer with the cheating boyfriend who comes to Canada to shoot, a TV show about showing calves and falls in love with the small town veterinarian / volunteer 4-H leader?
Well, we haven't seen the rest of the show. We don't know. Maybe this is how it turns out for our protagonist.
I would watch that, for sure. That sounds good. So one of the other things we were talking about is the difficulties of shooting on farms and, just letting folks get their normal work done. And the other question I was wondering about was, there's a lot of noise on working farms, and between, wind noise and cattle noise and equipment, and, people are always like, oh, it's so quiet in the country. I'm like, it's really not. So how did you guys deal with just trying to get around all that?
Okay, so our on-set sound, his name is David Moffat, is incredible. He's been around forever and just the sweetest man. And he did a fantastic job. But I'll also say we got a little bit lucky in that we were shooting, in the barn. And one day we made an arena. What's that made out of? Metal? Tin?
Oh, the dry shed.
We turned the dry shed into the show ring. And then another day we shot at iCanter for Weeds and Seeds in that big arena. And all three of them were sound nightmares. Had it been windy or raining, it'd be like on the tin roof. But for some reason, like we feel like the stars aligned. There was no wind, no rain, and it could have been a train wreck. It could have gone off the rails, but it went smoothly. We felt like we had, I don't know, like someone looking down on angels looking down on us. We got real lucky.
Yeah, half of our shooting schedule, so we shot for 12 days and 7 of those days were outdoors. Mm-hmm. And I remember one day I was like, Katie, and she was like, you can't control the weather. Stop worrying about it. Because I love to control everything as a producer. But the other thing about sound on the farm, I have to give a shout out to Austin Miller, who passed away a couple months ago. Every day before we would shoot, I would go and meet with him, and on just a little piece of paper would write out, okay, we're shooting in this area of the farm at this time frame. Does that work for you? Or like, I would kind of work on the schedule with him, and he was like 83, but sharp as a tack, and would go, okay, but what about this sound? Have you thought about this from the hayloft if you want to shoot even in that general area? So filmmaking is a very collaborative art form, and every single person on this set brought it together, including the farmers where we were filming, because they brought in all their own knowledge. And even there was this other beautiful day where we were kind of doing what's called B-roll, so picking up a bunch of shots that kind of play with music and things like that in a montage. And we were saying, oh, it'd be really nice if we had a cornfield. Mm-hmm. And Austin just quietly walked up and went, I heard you need a cornfield. Jump in the gator. And we jump in the gator, we drive down the road, and he's like, here you go.
Yeah, will this work? Yeah. We're like, yeah.
And we were like, put the drone up. Yeah. So it was really beautiful and magical, but a lot of communication is also how a good team and that together, mm-hmm. It kind of makes magic possible.
Mm-hmm.
So how hard was it to hire, how many folks are on your crew?
Our crew, like not cast, we're about 27, 28, depending on the day.
And how hard was it to find folks who were the right kind of folks? I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of sound folks, if you approach them and you're like, so we're shooting with children, live animals in a tin shed with no control over the weather. How do you pick did you pick a lot of folks you had already worked with, or were you like, how'd you scare off the ones who weren't going to be a good fit? Just like in actual farming, you just scare off anybody you can't hang.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a certain type of shoot and people had to be down for it. The key positions, most of them I've worked with for many years. I shot a series up in Sault Ste. Marie years ago, and then did a short film a few years ago. And so a lot of those key crew were crew that kind of brought along, and knew kind of, they'd worked with me and our EP, David Carruthers, so knew it would be a great set. And obviously Lindsey's brought so much as well. And we were also very cognizant as producers for when we were hiring, explaining to people, we were really transparent with, okay, this is going to be stinky. We are shooting with animals. You're going to be living with a billet. The Girl Guide leaders are doing the catering. Like, this is where you're getting paid a reduced rate. And also this is an experience that you are signing up for. And you know what? Like, some people passed for sure, but most people were like, this sounds cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Like a unique experience, kind of.
We had the best crew ever. Mm-hmm. We did do a long hiring process for everyone we brought in that we didn't know. And we tried to go on a referral basis, which is something we learned during this process, is always like get a referral. And our crew was just down for it. I think they
Yeah.
were excited.
Yeah, they were.
A lot of them had never had a farm experience. So even like seeing the cows, seeing the miniature horses, getting in the chicken pen to film, it was like kids in a
Yeah,
candy
because
store.
like a lot of them were born and raised in the city, and you know it was amazing seeing them walk into the barn and oh my god, like the cow! Yeah, it was very sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you kind of walk us through from, idea to a show? I mean, I'm sure that it's a really long process that we have no idea how long it takes and all the steps that are in there. But for people who have no experience, like you're saying, your crew didn't have any farm experience, which is one of the areas that we probably have more of. And I have zero on set or, movie production or show production experience. So can you tell our listeners what it takes to go from the idea that you guys had to actually creating a show that's going to be on TV?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll try and do it condensed.
Okay, so we'll just start. Okay, so it started at Lindsey's brother's birthday. We were all in our very rock bottom phase of life. I had just gone through a breakup. Lindsey was coming back from traveling and transition. Her brother had gone through a breakup. And we were a little bit down and out. It wasn't the best birthday party. And it's just the three of us. And Lindsey started talking about cow showing, and the timing was amazing. I was specifically looking for a rural comedy to work on. And right then and there, when you're at your worst, sometimes it's when you can be most focused because you also have free time. So we right then and there decided that we were going to do this and started meeting in coffee shops and fleshing out the ideas and building the characters and the world. And then we applied to different broadcasters. It was sort of in flux. Then applied to the TIFF accelerator. Actually, they gave us. There's a hat.
For people who don't know what's TIFF.
The Toronto International Film Festival. So we applied there and we applied to their TV series accelerator program, which was an amazing program to kind of flush out the show in all aspects, everything from legal to pitching, everything in between. So we had a decent pitch package at that point. And a pitch package kind of contains everything from your pilot episode to kind of a budget of what your fund you're applying for could work for, your character descriptions, the arc of the show. So we sent that to Belle, and Belle gave us our first green light. Then from there, we started doing private fundraising on our end because we knew if we wanted to make the show we'd need a bit more funding. We also applied to Ontario Crates, which gave us a grant for Ontario Labor, which was incredible. And then it was off to the races creatively.
And we brought on executive producer Carrie Ferenz, who's an incredible TV writer. She came on as executive producer and really helped us elevate the script and story structure. And then basically we were we had this feeling that we just needed to shoot last year. And because we could have pushed another year, but we just were no, we're doing it now. And we just pushed really hard to get it in shape, do the casting, do the hiring, and shot. And thank goodness we shot when we did, because a lot of things have changed now, and we got really, we pulled it together. But it is a certain type of chaoticness when you're in pre-production and production. That is a whirlwind. But you know what, we made it through, and all things considered, there are a few bumps in the road, but not bad.
Yeah, it was a great experience.
So kind of timeline wise, what year or day was the idea? And then you said you did 12 days of filming, is that right? And that's for how many episodes?
So the idea was born on my brother's birthday, October 4th, 2022. So here we are now in 2025. So about 2.5 years later, the show will be released on a network, which in TV land is actually extremely fast. So we shot for 12 full days, plus we did a little pickup day. After we got
2 pickup days, if you include them. Well, whatever.
Okay. We shot for 14 days. Sorry, you had one more question. Oh, and there's 6 episodes total for the show, and they're they're around 17 minutes. Some are 20, some are 13. 17 is the good happy medium, which all things considered, that amount of content in that many days is considered a lot.
That seems like a lot, especially when you're working in around the animals and the farm and all the people. You said earlier about your crew, but how many on cast?
So we had 21 main cast, and then on days where we had crew and cast and background performers, there was about 60 people on the farms.
That's a lot of things to coordinate.
It's a lot of things to coordinate. Shout out to our craft team, our catering team, who would feed all of those people. That again, that was all donated, and we couldn't without a happy fed cast and crew. You're going nowhere in film. So we're very grateful. Even one of the farms on one of our big day of 60 people, they provided the catering for us and barbecued for everyone. So just the community outreach was beyond what we could have imagined it would be. It was so beautiful.
That's amazing. Now, is there craft services for the animals too?
Oh, but of course, they when they were good, they got their grain treat.
Oh, good.
At the stand, they got some grain. Bribing. Yeah, just a little bit of bribing. Then the farmer's like, they've had enough. And I was like,
Yeah. Don't make them sick, please. They won't be able to act tomorrow.
yeah.
So this isn't related to this show specifically, but how did the two of you meet and how have you worked together? I'm assuming that this isn't your first time working together.
Well, actually, it is. Yeah, so for years I worked part-time in casting for film and TV and commercials with Lindsay's brother Gordon, and we're very good friends. And so we knew each other through Gord peripherally, and yeah, so it's funny because you asked me the other day, like, why
Yeah.
did you do this with me?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I knew your brother so well, and he's such a great guy that I just like trusted that you would be a good person. And you were. So
Same.
yeah, which is a crazy
Nepotism.
Yeah. It feels a little crazy, but
Referral. It's a referral.
it's a referral, and you
Yeah.
have to like trust your gut with people too. And I feel like I don't know, we are similar in a lot of ways, you know,
Mhm.
kind of similar values. We're different people, but we have the same kind of values.
And the show is so value centric. And I think that is what bonded us pretty early on, because when we were writing it and talking story and things like that, we always agreed on what it was about and that we wanted to authentically show a small town and agricultural experience coming from small towns. That was really important to us.
And also, we had conversations early on. A lot of the time in comedies, the small town people or the farmers are the butt of the joke. And we don't like that because we've never met a farmer who was not intelligent and generous and kind. And very early, we're like, no,
We're not doing
this is
that.
a comedy, but we're not doing that. Yeah.
I really appreciate that because it's true. So much of the comedy in a show that often highlights people from rural places is that they are the butt of the joke, or that their lifestyle is humorous in some way. So I appreciate the fact that there's humor, but it's not at the expense of the people who are being shown. Now, at the same time, I know that I'm a 4-H mom. I was a dairy 4-H kid, and I'm raising someone who's crazy about dairy 4-H. Now, there is an element of ridiculousness in it too. Like, I have a friend, and I mean, like, it's a wonderful thing, but like, she will like fly over her the person who does the fitting, like who clips her cow, from Europe, because like you have to have like the best clipper, right? Like for the really important show. So there is an element of like silliness in a way, even for people who are in the industry. So how do you kind of like straddle that line of like, this is kind of silly, but like it's not that the people are silly?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like, I mean, to just speak to your point of bringing in someone from Europe, we do have a character who's an international coach from Europe who comes in to be the coach of her competitor, her main arch nemesis, who's like a lovely teenage girl.
Like a classic 4-H'er.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
So nice.
She's like, I hate her.
Taking her down.
Yeah, I would say the joke is mostly at Tabby's expense. She's coming back and she's acting insane, trying to take down these kids and like, win, and her reaction to win, different things. So everyone else in a way, there's comedies where the protagonist is crazy. If you look at like anything Jim Carrey's in, he's crazy and everyone around him is more normal. In this, she's crazy and everyone around her is more normal. And that's where the comedy is coming from, her reaction.
Podcasts are free to listen to, but they aren't free to create. Katie and I would appreciate your support as we work to build the Barnyard language community.
Patreon is an easy way for you to make a contribution that goes directly to making the show. As a member of our Patreon community, you get to watch the video version of our weekly updates, complete with questionable hairstyles and clutter. With 3 levels of support, you can choose a tier that works for you.
Keep the podcast going by becoming a patron today at patreon.com/barnyardlanguage.
So, as a farmer, one of the things I find most frustrating is how clean people tend to be in shows that are supposedly set on farms. Everybody's bright white t-shirts, clean jeans, brand new boots. It looks ridiculous. How realistic did you guys try to get?
Oh, very.
Very. And literally, like with Amanda, it was like dirtier. Yeah. And yeah, you've talked to your.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amanda is someone I'd worked with in the theater world. And when we were trying to find wardrobe, I was like, I know the perfect person for this. And she came in and so detailed and everything. There was one outfit I had to wear and she just kept putting more dirt. And there was dirt continuity on that outfit. There's a whole poo sequence. And I'll speak to our makeup artist, Anna, to make fake poo. This angel, she used avocado and cocoa. So it would smell like chocolate.
Oh, so you weren't actually using actual manure.
We didn't. I was like, yeah, I can do it if you guys do. And our first AD was like, there's no way you're doing that. And I was like, oh,
it's happened to me before.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think you guys understand what I'm doing when we're not filming, when I take these calves for a walk. Like, there's a lot of poo going around, guys. So, yeah, we tried to make it as authentic as possible. A lot of, like, pre-worn distressed clothes. Mm-hmm. There was a whole storyline at one point about the new farmer in town having clean boots and the farmer whose farm he's taking it over having dirty boots. It's just, we tried our best to make it as authentic as possible.
Yeah, in some places I think we could have still got, like now watching it, I'm like, oh, it could still be dirtier, but we try, like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Amanda did a great job.
I mean, as much as we joke about manure being good for your skin, I'm guessing that the avocado was probably better.
It was so great.
It's like a mask.
I was like, are we doing that scene again?
So when we're talking about manure and continuity, how do you deal with that when you're on set, when the heifers are pooping in the show ring and all that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, just having someone there to pick it up and all that. And with wardrobe, we'll often have doubles. So there's the clean and the dirty if we have to go back. And that kind of thing. And even with the cows, actually.
Yeah. And we had a script supervisor named Jessie, and that was a big part of her job. So just each shot going, even something from like, oh, the hair was more in front of the ear or behind the ear. There's someone on set that actually is tracking all of that stuff because Katie's looking at overall vision. The lens pullers are looking at the focus. So there's truly someone there to be like, oh, that was different last time, so we need to clean that up or move that cow a little bit more to left or things like that. So it's a whole team that brings it together.
Yeah, I really relied on our script supervisor, Jessie, because when I'm watching the monitor, I'm really looking at the actor's performance and I'm not looking at when they're holding the mug and putting it down and anything like that. She was like my right-hand man with me at the monitor at all times. Mm-hmm.
It seems like too, working with animals and especially livestock, and especially knowing that probably, I would imagine, a substantial portion of your audience will be folks who have been to actual cow shows. I can't imagine trying to work with that many cast where saying, this is your spot is not going to get you somebody on that spot ready to go. It seems like probably more like working with really rowdy children than professional actors, the way we think of it. I'm wondering if you guys have any like tips, tricks, funny stories, whatever regarding that, because I'm just picturing it, and it does not seem super unfrustrating.
I mean, I think something we learned is that working with animals, it just takes so much more time than you initially budget. And a film set is quite a like time budgeted place. And just saying, okay, how perfect does it need to be? I think is something that was talked about. I remember my 4-H leader, she was someone on set helping with wrangling, and she was trying to line up their feet all perfectly in a line. And at one point, she just looked at us and went, how perfect? And we were like, we just need to film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Yeah, it's hopefully when the 4-Hers watch it, it feels authentic to them. I think in the end it should, but I'm sure a real 4-Her will be able to find certain things where they're like, that neck fat grab wasn't quite.
Could be tighter.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, foot placement was not ideal, but it's all right.
We tried really hard on the feet placement because I was like, that inner foot has to be back.
Yeah, it was good that because Lindsay obviously knows that stuff so inside out. And like I tried to learn it ahead of time, but it was, instrumental in having a partner who knows the world.
And showmanship is one of those things where there are so many little details, right, that no one else would know, right? Like I'm sure we could probably walk into a dog show and have no idea what's going on, but someone else would see every little thing. So, I mean, whatever everyone has their specialties, right? And the detail that goes into other people's worlds is important to them, but yeah, it doesn't always show through until you know that's that's an important thing.
Yeah, we tried our best. Yeah.
Do you have other people that you want to highlight in terms of, you talked about the farms where you were filming and those kinds of things, and some of your crew? Are there other people that were really instrumental in making this project come together?
Yeah, I'd say our executive producer, David Carruthers, has just been a real great mentor and someone who has helped us a lot in different ways. He works on a show called Handmaid's Tale, and is at like a different sort of level professionally, but has really taken us on as mentees, and that's been huge. And then our entire team, but especially our post-production team as well, for 6 months. I was in that cutting room with our editor, Hari Ramesh, every weekend and evening. And he just had a day job and then did this show in all of the spare time at like a champ. And our post-sound team who worked for months and months putting together all the sounds, went on location to another farm to get authentic farm sounds. I mean, we could go on and on really, because but it's touching when people really step up.
Yeah.
Sure. So we talked about the timeline a bit already, but between the end of filming to when it is actually going to be released, how much time is there in there?
October 6th, 2024. And we were due like a baby, May 1st. So yeah, 8 months?
Yeah, 8 months. Yeah, launching on June 11th.
Yeah.
So
Right. Yeah. So tell our listeners, where can they find it?
So
and can our American
Canadian friends can definitely watch it on Bell 5 TV1 starting on June 11th. And our American friends just need to stay tuned until we figure out where its American home will be.
Perfect. Oh, another question I was wondering about is, what other projects have you guys worked on that people can look up, or what are you working on in the future that we can look forward to?
Absolutely. Well, we have a few projects in development that we're really excited about. One is a movie about a best friend breakup. It's something we've both experienced, where you have a falling out with a girlfriend that can be almost harder than a breakup with a boyfriend. And we haven't really seen it explored so in depth. So that's one that we're developing. And then we have another comedy, which is a little bit more of a sitcom, about a Don in the university, someone who works on the floor in residence, dealing with all the students and whatnot and all the chaos that ensues there.
And we're talking about a potential mockumentary of the making of this show to kind of give folks, I had never worked as a producer on a production this large. So my lens of just constantly learning all the time of all the little intricacies, I personally found really interesting. And I was like, oh, I wonder if an audience, like you were asking of, okay, how does a film actually get made? Kind of doing that on this show specifically because we know it so well and it's so unique and funny, and kind of the backside of what was going on behind the camera was like a beautiful Hallmark movie where the town is all coming. I mean, there's your Hallmark movie, Katie. Like the town was all coming together to make it happen. So that's something else we're playing with the idea of, and lots of little pots on the stove.
Yeah, I love the idea of the Girl Guides providing your sandwiches for lunch and everyone staying at community members' homes and all that kind of stuff. That's really sweet. Would there be a season 2? Is that something you're open to?
We don't know yet. It's up to our network. So Belle, let us know.
Yeah, we'll have some watch parties, right?
Yeah, there you go. Write some letters.
Hey.
Yeah, I guess I'll just have to go visit a Canadian to see it. Okay. So we ask all of our guests, if you were going to dominate a category at the county fair, what would it be? And you can make up a category or use a real one.
Okay, not to toot my own horn, but I would dominate dairy showmanship. Qualified for the Royal Winter Fair at 13, the youngest.
That is impressive. I mean, depends on the county.
Small county. Actually, no, we were a really big club. We were like 25 kids in our club.
Yeah, no, that is impressive. Yeah, first year of qualifying, that's really good. Plus, you've got more recent experience. You're bringing it back around.
I know, I'm ready. I'm ready to go back.
She's sharpened. What do you think mine would be?
Probably horses.
Probably horses. I grew up horseback riding and with horses, so anything horse related. Yeah, that's true. We went to the judging competition.
Mhm.
The one of the stations was all horse, and
She aced that
aced
part.
it.
Nice. You still know their confirmation?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll move into our usual cussing and discussing segment. If you're a listener and want to submit yours, you can go to our SpeakPipe or our email, and we will play it or read it out for you. Katie, my American Katie, what do you have to cuss and or discuss this week?
That horrible moment when you get back in your car after it's been parked somewhere, say an airport parking lot for, say, 5 or 6 days, and you realize that someone under 5 feet tall, perhaps, has left, for example, a cup of ice cream in the cup holder in the back seat
Yum.
where you didn't know about it. And now it's just been getting stinkier for a few days.
Oh no.
Yeah. I mean, I am glad to have a very clear source of the stink and to not have to go looking for it, because that's the one thing that's worse.
That's always good. Yeah, to know where the smell is coming from.
Yeah. Could have done without that. What do you guys have to cuss and discuss? Whoever wants to go first up there.
I'll go first because I was just saying this to Katie at the table. My cuss and discuss is when you send someone a message and they leave you on read, especially if the message is a compliment saying you really admire their work as an artist and they can't be bothered to even heart it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, mine is similar, like when you're trying to coordinate or work with someone and they're just not getting back to you in a timely manner, and it's very frustrating.
I'm right there with you guys. Yeah. Lindsay, I think the only thing I find worse is when you can see that someone starts typing back, like the little dots come up and then they stop and then they come up again and then they stop and then nothing. You're like, so it's not like they just closed it and we're going to come back and forgot. Like, they obviously thought about replying and then they were like, nah. And then they just dropped it right there. I can feel my blood pressure going up just thinking about it. Arlene, what do you have to cuss and discuss today?
So mine is somewhat much related to our conversation today. I was thinking about, I'm pretty sure it was on the show The Ranch, where there was a scene where a cow had a calf and it was the wrong breed. I mean, I understand, like, same as when you have a baby on TV, they're not going to hand you a gooey newborn. Like, they probably aren't going to have like a gooey newborn calf that was just born, but at least, match it up with the mother. Like, get it was like a beef cow and there was like this little Jersey calf on the ground, and it was like that did not come from that animal, even even close. So yeah, so a little bit of authenticity. And you guys obviously have done a lot of authenticity, so that is fantastic.
That will not happen in Cows Come
No,
Home.
we have only Holsteins.
No, exactly, only Holstein. Yeah, you've got continuity for sure that way. Now, you said that your two heifers were very close in markings. Do you think if someone's really paying attention, they'll notice?
Well, it's funny you say that, because I've wondered it,
Mhm.
and I've had like close friends see it a couple times. Not that they're necessarily, farmers, but it's not until I point it out that people seem to catch it.
Yeah, nobody's caught it, and we've done a bunch of in the post-process test screenings where we're doing notes and looking for inconsistencies, and nobody's caught it yet. But we'll see. We'll see.
With the farmers, it'll be interesting.
Yeah. The 4-H members will be like, "Oh, that's not the calf they registered on June 1st."
Arlene, I think the real test here is you need to have your husband and your daughter watch it without telling them and see how long it takes them to say something, because I feel like they will notice.
Yeah,
But
they might. So thank you both for joining us today. Just remind our listeners one more time where they can see the show and where they can follow you guys on social media.
Great. So in Canada, you can see the show on 5TV1, Bell's streaming service. And then we're at Cows Come Home Show on Instagram and Facebook. And recently we got a website.
Yes. .ca. Cowscomehome.ca.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on. It was great to meet you both.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us. This was so exciting.
Yeah,
for
this
us.
was fun.
Yeah.
yeah, thank you guys so much.
Thank you for joining us on Barnyard Language. If you enjoy the show, please support us on Patreon with a donation.
Big thanks go out to our show editor, Krista Paffrath at the Rural Podcast Network.
Please rate and review the podcast wherever you listen and follow the show so you never miss an episode.
If you want to connect with other farming families, join the private Barnyard Language Facebook group.
We are always in search of future guests for the podcast. If you or someone you know would like to chat with us, get in touch.